The world of Aerthos was a brutal, unforgiving LitRPG reality. Every adventurer faced death constantly, their lives a precarious dance between skill, luck, and the cold, hard stats of the system. For Kael, a fledgling, Tier 1 rogue, with a knack for getting into trouble, the system had dealt a particularly cruel hand. He had been on his first real dungeon crawl with his older sister Lyra, a talented Tier 3 archer. They were in the Whispering Crypt, a low-level dungeon, clearing out skeletal warriors, Levener 5. Lyra, ever the protector, had stepped in front of Kael to shield him from a critical blow. The system's notification had flashed, stark and terrifying. Lyra, archer, has received fatal damage. Kael's world had fractured. He saw her smile, etched into his memory, bright and warm. He couldn't lose her. Not like this. System alert. Protagonist. Kael has registered a critical narrative failure. New core class protocol initiated. The Rewinder. New core class unlocked. The Rewinder. Core ability unlocked. Rewind. Level 1. Active skill. Allows host to turn back time by up to 5 seconds, undoing a fatal blow, a failed skill check, or a disastrous choice. Cost: 1 random memory shard from host's memory pool. Cooldown: 1 minute. Memory pool. Status: Memories of childhood, complete. Memories of training, complete. Memories of Lyra, complete. Kael saw the IR rewind option. A terrible, desperate gamble. His memories. What did that even mean? But Lyra was dying. He didn't hesitate. Rewind! He screamed, a silent command in his mind. Rewind, Levener 1. Activated. Time rewound by 4.7 seconds. Memory shard consumed, the warmth of Lyra's smile. The world snapped back. The skeletal warrior's blade was still mid-swing, but Lyra was no longer in its path. Kael, acting on an instinct he didn't know he possessed, shoved her out of the way. He took the blow instead. Kael has received critical damage. HP 5150. Lyra, archer, is safe. Lyra, startled but unharmed, quickly dispatched the warrior. She turned to Kael, concern etched on her face. Kael, are you all right? You pushed me, that was so fast. Kael just stared at her. Her smile. It was there, but in his mind, it felt dimmer. He knew he loved her, knew she was his sister, but the feeling of her smile, its specific warmth, was gone. It was like a word on the tip of his tongue, forever lost. Kael, the Rewinder, level 1, HP 5150, MP 5050, STR 10, Dex 15, Agile, Quick, Inti 12, Wiz 10, Con 15, Che 8 memory, pool 99%, fading. He had saved her. But at what cost? He looked at the system message again. Memory shard consumed. The warmth of Lyra's smile. This was the price of his new power, his own past, slowly being erased, one crucial moment at a time, the echo of a choice and a fading smile. This was his burden. Kael quickly became known as an incredibly lucky, almost prescient adventurer. He never missed a crucial dodge, never failed a vital lockpick, never stumbled into a trap. His party, now consisting of Lyra and a sturdy warrior named Grom and a cautious healer named Alara, attributed it to his natural talent. Only Kael knew the truth. Every flawless victory, every narrow escape came at a price. They took on a dangerous quest, infiltrate the Gravefang lair, a high-level dungeon to retrieve a stolen relic from the formidable Knoll warlord Crag, Levener 20. The quest was riddled with traps and powerful enemies. Primary quest: the Gravefang relic. Objective: retrieve the Orb of Whispers from Knoll warlord Crag's lair. Inside the lair, Kael's rewind skill was in constant use. A poisoned dart missed Grom by an inch. Cost: memory shard, the taste of Grandma's apple pie. A hidden pitfall was avoided. Cost: memory shard, the smell of fresh rain after a drought. Lyra's arrow found a weak spot on a gnoll's armor, but only after Kael rewound and pointed out the exact location to her. Cost: memory shard, the sound of Lyra's laughter during a childhood game. The memories weren't always vital, but their loss was jarring. Kael could still logically recall the concept of apple pie, but the sensory experience, the emotional connection, was gone. It was like a book with pages torn out. Memory pool status, 85%, fading rapidly. Kael's progression felt perverse. He gained XP rapidly, his skills as a rogue becoming unparalleled. But with each level, his pass diminished. XP gain 500, Gnoll Shaman defeated. Level up. Kael is now level 5. Skill: Dodge has leveled up to level 3. New Rewinder ability unlocked. Fragmented Recall, Levirid 1. Passive skill, a 5%. Chance to experience a fleeting echo of a previously consumed memory shard when performing an action related to that memory. They finally confronted Gnoll Warlord Crag. Crag was a terrifying opponent, wielding a massive enchanted axe. Lyra fired a critical shot, but Crag, surprisingly agile, dodged. "Rewind!" Kael commanded, his voice strained. Rewind, Levir 1. Activated. Time rewound by 4.9 seconds. Memory shard consumed. The comfort of Lyra's hand in his. Kael had rewinded to before Lyra's shot. This time, knowing Crag's dodge pattern, he yelled a warning, "Left, Lyra, aim left!" Lyra, surprised by his sudden, precise instruction, adjusted her aim. Her arrow struck true, embedding itself deep in Crag's eye. The warlord roared, then collapsed. Quest: the Gravefang Relic, completed. Quest reward: Orb of Whispers acquired. Plus 1500 XP. Level up. Kael is now level 8. Memory pool status, 70%, fading significantly. New Rewinder ability unlocked. Prioritize memory, Lever 1. Active skill. Before activating Rewind, host can attempt to select a memory shard to protect from consumption. Risk: 25% chance of selecting a vital memory shard if unsuccessful. Cost: 50 MP. Cooldown, 1 hour. Kael clutched the Orb of Whispers, its smooth surface cold against his hand. They had succeeded. Lyra embraced him, thanking him, but as she took his hand, Kael felt nothing. The comfort, the specific familiarity of her touch was gone. He remembered the fact of her comfort, but not the feeling. He was saving his sister, but he was losing himself, one precious memory at a time. The Orb of Whispers, a powerful artifact, led Kael to a terrible truth. It could show glimpses of potential futures. Kael realized his Rewinder class was linked to a prophecy. He was destined to prevent a catastrophic future event, a great cataclysm that would destroy Aerthos. His seemingly random memory consumption was actually the system leveraging his past to secure a future. Primary quest: the looming cataclysm. Objective: prevent the great cataclysm. Reward: unlocks Aerthos' true ending. The stakes were higher than ever. Kael used prioritize memory constantly, trying to safeguard his most precious memories, particularly those of Lyra. But the skill was risky, and sometimes the system still took what it wanted. He lost the memory of their parents' faces. Cost: vital memory shard, parents' faces. He only had Lyra left. He became a master of his class, his reflexes and decision-making honed to perfection by the constant rewinds. He gained a reputation as a calculating, ruthless adventurer because he was so rarely surprised. He seemed cold, distant, a man without past mistakes. Kael, the Rewinder, level 15, HP 700, 700, MP 250, 250, STR 25, Dex 40, Superhuman Agility, Int 25, the Wis 20, understood tactical advantages but not moral ones. Con 30, Che 10, too distant, for charm. Memory pool 40%, severe erosion. Kael's party, though benefiting immensely from his skills, grew concerned. Lyra saw the emptiness in his eyes, the way he sometimes stared blankly at a familiar object, as if seeing it for the first time. He rarely spoke of the past. He was always in the present, always reacting, always saving them. One day, Lyra finally confronted him. "Kael, what's happening to you? You're not the same. It's like you're forgetting things." Kael tried to explain, but how could he? How could he tell her that every time he saved her, he lost a piece of himself? He couldn't risk her knowing. He couldn't risk not saving her. His rewind skill became an addiction. He used it for increasingly minor things, avoiding a social faux pas, winning a game of dice, finding the perfect piece of loot. He was desperate for any advantage, any way to make the dangerous world of Aerthos even slightly safer, knowing that each use chipped away at his very identity. Memory shard consumed. The sound of Lyra's voice telling a bedtime story. He had won the dice game, but the memory of Lyra's voice telling him stories as a child, gone. The price was becoming unbearable. The emptiness inside him grew, a vast, echoing void where his past should have been. The great cataclysm was drawing closer. The orb of whispers showed Kael fragmented visions, a colossal world-eater beast emerging from a dimensional rift, tearing Aerthos apart. To prevent it, Kael needed to find the Shard of Kronos, an artifact capable of sealing dimensional rifts. Primary quest, the looming cataclysm. Objective, acquire the Shard of Kronos. The location of the shard was known only to the reclusive Kronos keepers, a powerful and secretive order who guarded the flow of time. They resided in the temporal sanctum, a fortress hidden in the most treacherous peaks of the Everfrost Mountains. Kael's party, now deeply worried by his distant behavior, reluctantly agreed to the perilous journey. Lyra, especially, was troubled. She had a gut feeling that something was terribly wrong. During their ascent, a rogue, mountain drake, level 30, ambushed them. Grom, the warrior, was knocked off a precarious ledge. Rewind. Kael shouted, "Rewind, lever 2, activated, time rewound by 4.8 seconds. Memory shard consumed, the feeling of Lyra's protective embrace. Kael had saved Grom, but the cost was immense. He no longer remembered the distinct comfort of his sister's embrace, only the fact that she had embraced him. They finally reached the temporal sanctum. The Kronos keepers, wary of outsiders, refused them entry. Kael, desperate, tried to force his way in. Kael, the rewinder, has entered combat with Kronos keeper, lever 40. Lyra, seeing his escalating desperation, his cold eyes, realized the awful truth. She had noticed how he predicted attacks, how he was always one step ahead. It clicked. This was no luck. This was a power that was consuming him. "Kael, stop," Lyra pleaded, stepping between him and the keeper. "What are you doing? What is this power?" Kael, for a split second, hesitated. He saw the hurt in her eyes, felt a pang of something. He wasn't sure what it was anymore. Memory shard. Consumed. The pain of Lyra's disappointment. He had forgotten the feeling of her disappointment. His last emotional connection to her, gone. The Kronos keeper, seeing Kael's moment of hesitation, saw an opening. It unleashed a powerful, temporal stasis spell, freezing Kael in place. Lyra, her face a mask of sorrow and determination, made a terrible choice. She sacrificed her own mana and a rare resonance crystal to break Kael's stasis, but in doing so, she knew she had to expose him. "He has the power to rewind time," Lyra confessed to the keeper, her voice trembling. "But it costs him. His memories. He's losing himself to save us." The Kronos keeper, initially enraged by Kael's forced entry, now looked at him with a different expression. Pity. It understood the terrible burden of a rewinder. Quest update. The looming cataclysm. Objective. Acquire the Shard of Chronos. Failure imminent due to trust breakdown. Kael stood, unfrozen, but utterly broken. Lyra had betrayed his secret. But in her eyes, he saw not betrayal, but profound love and fear. He remembered the word love, but the feeling was now a distant echo. He was almost empty. Almost. The Chronos Keepers, understanding Kael's burden, agreed to help. They revealed that the Shard of Chronos was not merely an artifact, it was a fragment of the primordial flow of time itself, attuned to powerful memories. To wield it, one needed not only immense power, but an uncorrupted mind. Kael's fading memory pool was a critical weakness. Primary quest, the looming cataclysm. Objective, acquire the Shard of Chronos. Status, modified. New sub-objective, stabilize Kael's memory pool before wielding the Shard of Chronos. Reward, partial memory restoration. The Keepers, with Lyra and the party's help, began a desperate ritual to stabilize Kael's remaining memories. They projected the party's memories of Kael, attempting to patch the holes in his past. It was a painful, disorienting process. Kael saw flashes of joy, anger, sadness, but they were not his feelings. They were reflections. Memory. Pool stabilized, 30%, fragile. Warder ability. Fragmented recall has leveled up to level 5. New rewinder ability unlocked. Memory anchor, level 1. Active skill. Allows host to imbue a single memory shard with residual mana, making it significantly more resistant to rewind consumption. Cost, 200 MP, cooldown, 1 week. Kael's memory pool was stabilized but still largely empty. He was a ghost of his former self. He could still function, still fight, but the vibrant tapestry of his past was mostly gone. He was a perfect warrior, a master of time, but devoid of the emotional context that made life worth living. He finally understood the true cost of his power. The Keepers presented the Shard of Chronos. It pulsed with raw temporal energy. To use it, Kael needed to not just touch it, but to bind it to his rewinder class, a process that could drain him completely. Binding protocol initiated. Shard of Chronos. Warning. High risk of permanent memory loss during binding. Lyra, her eyes filled with tears, stepped forward. Kael, remember me. Remember us. You have to. Kael looked at her. He knew she was his sister. He knew she loved him. He knew he was supposed to love her back. But the feeling of it, the specific unique warmth, was gone. He felt an echo. A duty. A profound, aching emptiness where connection should be. He took a deep breath. He activated Memory Anchor, Lever 1, focusing on the most persistent, most undeniable fragment he had left. The fact of Lyra's existence, the fact of her love for him. He tried to protect the last logical piece of his past. Memory Anchor, Lever 1, activated. Target, the fact of Lyra's existence. MP, 200. Binding Shard of Chronos initiated. The pain was immense. Kael felt his mind being scoured, swept clean. Memories newly stabilized were threatened again. He felt the system trying to take everything, but the memory anchor held. Just barely. Shard of Chronos bound to protagonist, Kael. Core ability, Rewind has leveled up to level 3, Ultimate. New Rewinder ability unlocked, Temporal Seal, Lever 1, Active Skill. Allows host to seal a dimensional rift for a limited time. Cost, 50% max MP, 10% memory pool. Memory pool, status, 15%, critical. Kael collapsed, the Shard of Chronos pulsing in his hand. He had the power. He could seal the rift. He could save Aerthos. But he was almost entirely gone. His past was a void. He was a living, breathing weapon, utterly devoid of the memories that made him a man. The World-Eater beast, Love 100, emerged from the dimensional rift, a monstrous entity of pure chaos intent on consuming Aerthos. Its presence alone tore at the fabric of reality, causing mass panic and environmental destruction. Primary quest: the looming cataclysm. Objective: seal the dimensional rift with the shard of Kronos. Kael, the ghost of himself, stood ready. He was emotionless, a perfect machine of combat and temporal manipulation. He moved with a precision no human could match, predicting every move of the World-Eater, every attack, every destructive breath, by constantly activating rewind for fractions of a second. Memory, shard consumed, the smell of rain. Memory. Shard consumed, the sound of wind in trees. Memory shard consumed, the feeling of sunlight on skin. He was losing the last, most basic sensory memories of the world he was fighting to save. He was becoming utterly detached, a pure conduit of the system's will. Lyra, Grom, and Alara, along with an army of adventurers and Kronos keepers, fought valiantly to hold the World-Eater back, buying Kael precious seconds. They watched in horror as Kael's eyes became increasingly blank, his movements robotic. "Kael, seal the rift!" Lyra screamed, tears streaming down her face. "Don't lose yourself entirely!" Kael nodded, a ghost of a gesture. He knew his objective. He had the shard of Kronos. He had to use temporal seal. But it came with a terrible cost. 10% of his already critical memory pool. It would take what little remained. He stared at the rift, at the monster. He stared at Lyra, her face a blur of familiar agony. He knew the fact that he loved her, that he needed to protect her, but the feeling was gone. He raised the shard of Kronos. Temporal seal. Temporal seal, Levere 1. Activated. Dimensional rift is closing. Memory pool consumed. 10%. Memory shard consumed. The fact of Lyra's existence. The memory anchor had failed. The last shred of his personal connection, the logical understanding of his sister, was gone. Kael sealed the rift, the World-Eater roaring as it was violently pulled back into its own dimension. The cataclysm was averted. Aerthos was saved. But Kael stood alone, a blank slate, devoid of all personal memory. He remembered his name. He remembered his class. He remembered his skills. He remembered the objective: prevent cataclysm. But why? He had done it. Who he had saved, who he was before, was gone. He was a victorious weapon, a hero without a past. Primary quest: the looming cataclysm completed. Quest reward: Aerthos' true ending achieved. Pleasant 10,000 XP. Level up. Kael is now level 20, maxed. Class evolution: the Rewinder. Kronos Paragon. New ultimate ability: temporal preservation, passive. Host's physical form is now immune to further memory loss. Remaining 5% of memory pool is permanently safeguarded. Global effect: Aerthos' true ending. The threat of future. Cataclysms is averted. A new era of peace begins. Kael stood completely empty. Lyra ran to him, tears streaming down her face. "Kael, do you remember me?" Kael looked at her, his eyes blank. "My name is Kael. My class is Kronos Paragon. Objective: cataclysm averted. Who are you?" Lyra crumpled to the ground, her heart broken. He had saved them all, but he had lost everything. Kael, the Kronos Paragon, became a living legend. The system had ensured his survival, his ultimate triumph, but at the cost of his identity. He became a protector, a guardian of Aerthos, but a hollow one. His remaining memory pool of 5% was permanently protected by temporal preservation. These were not personal memories, but basic functional ones. How to read, how to fight, the concept of justice. He was a perfect hero, devoid of self. Lyra, Grom, and Alara refused to give up on him. They decided that if Kael couldn't remember his past, they would help him build a new one. They became his constant companions, his anchors. They told him stories of his past, showed him old trinkets, reenacted shared moments. Chronos Paragon Ability, Memory Reconstruction, Leverer 1, Active Skill. By consciously re-experiencing documented past events, e.g. stories, journals, photos, host can gain fragmented memories that are immune to further rewind consumption. Cost, 100 MP per session, cooldown, 1 day. It was agonizingly slow. Kael would listen to Lyra tell a story of their childhood, concentrating with all his might, and sometimes a tiny fragment would click. Not the full, vibrant memory, but a dim, persistent echo. He learned the fact of his parents' love, then perhaps a glimmer of how it felt. Fragmented memory gained. A sense of warmth from parents. He started small. He relearned the taste of apple pie, the smell of rain, the sound of Lyra's laughter. These were not the vibrant, complete memories he had lost, but they were his again, built anew, consciously protected. The process of memory reconstruction was his new, lifelong quest. He had saved Aerthos, but now he had to save himself. He helped rebuild the world, using his temporal abilities to avert minor disasters, but always with his companions by his side, constantly feeding him his forgotten past, helping him to painstakingly reforge his identity. Decades passed. Kael, the Chronos Paragon, slowly rebuilt his memory. His memory pool, once a terrifying void, was now a carefully curated, precious collection of reforged fragments. He would never be the same Kael that existed before the Rewinder class, but he was more. He was a man who understood the true value of every single memory, every moment, every feeling. He learned to cherish his past, not just use it as a resource. He taught the world the importance of living fully, of making choices, even hard ones, that didn't demand such a terrible sacrifice. His relationship with Lyra deepened into an unbreakable bond. She was his living memory, his anchor, the one who had literally helped him put himself back together. Grom and Alara were his steadfast friends, his new family. He eventually gained a new ultimate ability, a testament to his unique journey. Ultimate ability, temporal empathy, passive. Host can project small, non-consuming fragments of their rebuilt memories to others, sharing the emotional weight of their journey and choices. Effect, inspires profound empathy and understanding in recipients. Kael used temporal empathy to share his story not just as a legend, but as a lesson. He taught that true heroism wasn't just about saving the world, but about safeguarding the humanity, the self, within. He had started as a man haunted by the cost of his power. He ended as a hero defined by his unwavering fight to reclaim his humanity. He had lost his past to save the future, but in doing so, he had built a new, stronger self, one memory at a time. The Rewinder had saved Aerthos, and in the process, had finally fully remembered himself. His full tapestry, woven with threads of sacrifice and rebirth, was complete.